All right, the first unit we're looking at today is STR Cooler. My go. This is an incredible animation. I cannot, like, this is one of the earlier days of Dokkan's animation wise, and it's really incredible how much they have done ever since then. But it really was a statement to this team because they kind of flexed the budget a little bit, right? I mean, look at this scene, the spin around, and then the, like, it's a lot of what makes this animation so fluid and great is there's not a lot of cuts, right? When it first starts the intro, or sorry, the attack, it's the camera spinning around Cooler. And then, of course, the camera's pretty still a lot of times because even once he hits him in the water, Cooler is then just driving forward. And then even the push around, like this entire attack is very fluid. There's a lot of motion going on here, and there's not a ton of like camera cuts. There's like one or two. There's a cut there, and this is a transition. He's flying forward, then it cuts into the super attack effect, punches Goku, pushes him into the wall, and then there's still no cuts. That is all one fluid motion until about the very end with that one cut for a close-up for the Goku. But this is one of my favorite supers in the game, especially as an old school. And this came out 6 years ago, by the way. 6 years ago, we got this unit, and this is how well he's coming to this day. Like, if this came out today with maybe slightly more polished on the Cooler model, I mean, like, the Cooler model's not even that bad, but I just think if you put, just brushed up a little bit on him, this is an LR super attack worthy animation. They did extremely well with this one, and it definitely comes down to how well that camera works with it. All right, the next unit we have is the LR STR Rosé active skill attack. I'm talking about Rosé's specific active attack. I love what they do here at the camera. Once again, starts off the attack. I'm gonna pause it right here. I know you're gonna be seeing a different version of gameplay. I'm watching the gameplay on the side, but what I love that it is so great about this animation is this Zamasu in Rosé opening has them talking, and then it doesn't cut. It moves the camera to the next person that is talking. A lots of motion inside of an attack just brings so much more life than it would if you cut between those two, just because it's more natural looking, right? Like, you don't like look at a person and then blink and then look at another person, right? You look at one person and then your eyes go over to the next person, and the camera recreating that really brings a lot of life to the animation. And I think for the most part, the motion is what carries this animation a lot. The rotoscoping is as well, of course, but like, this is a very normal attack. There is nothing to it outside of, just being a holy light grenade. But the talking, the motion, all of that brings a different layer to this attack that allows it to be much better than it ever should be. This attack really should never have been considered one of the best looking active skills in the game because of the motion, because of the talking. Again, otherwise it is a very basic attack, and it just gets more life because of the camera work that was done for it. Next, we have LR Third Eye Gomah. I expect this unit to come out right now. A lot of people are like, there's no way we see Gomah. I was like, I guarantee you guys, this part 2 LR is going to be Gomah. Just you wait. So here we are. We have the Gomah, and very exciting unit. But let's get into the animation. We're not here to talk about Gomah. We're here more to talk about his animation. He's the reason why I even made this video, because of this 12 key animation right here. Super simple. The camera motions right over to Gomah, charging up his attack. That is such a great motion. It has a very similar motion to what Cooler has inside of his attack. And again, like, as I mentioned earlier with the STR Rosé, it is all about keeping motion moving, because it just brings a different layer to things, right? It's a cut would be effective, but it doesn't look as good. It doesn't move as well, right? It's something to me that I feel like just brings more life into it, because it's not even really like, again, like the motion here when he has them up, like he has has the sprite frozen in place. You almost feel like there's not really even a necessity to have that motion there, but it does look better with it, because your eyes saw what happened to Goku, right? You have Gomah, he brings him with palm, and then you look at the sprite over there, it is now levitating because of Gomah. So now you're wondering, what is Gomah gonna do? So naturally your eyes do exactly what the motion says, which is you're gonna now go this way and look at what Gomah's gonna do without having the cut, which makes it unnatural. It makes it a more fluid and natural look, and I think that is what allows it to be such an amazing animation. Because again, a cut would work there as well, but it's just the motion is very fluid, and it's natural to your eyes, because your eyes are wondering what Gomah's gonna do next anyways. So if you're in real life watching this fight, you're gonna pan over to see what Gomah's gonna do. And so the shot that it goes into is a full Gomah shot, because that's all you care about at this point. So I think the motion does a really good job of basically doing what your eyes want it to do without creating those unnatural things, because cuts will always be unnatural. They'll always break the flow. It doesn't mean cuts are bad. It just means that cuts, and maybe you can use cuts to that advantage because you want something to feel uninterrupted or whatever. But if you're looking for fluidity, which is what super attacks are all about, you want good motion. And again, this is the reason why Gomah's on this list, because he does it so well and it just looks very fluid. All right, the next one we have is the STR free-to-play Great Saiyan Man. Now, I'm actually not going to include too much on this one, because this one is different than all the ones we talked about earlier. This one doesn't really have necessarily anything to do with emotion, but I want to shout out this animation because I think it's really cool that they had something more unique for this attack, right? What is so different about this attack is they created something where the Gohan's going to be in first person, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure it's the only attack in this game that goes into first person. And you know, it's not crazy camera work, but I think it's a unique camera angle that we've never gotten before in this game, and we haven't gotten ever, that, you know, one day can be used as an advantage, like body change. Imagine like a body change animation where like it starts, you know, third person or whatever, then you go first person with the body change or whatever, or like it's all first person. I don't know, but there's a lot of animations and stuff that do benefit from being in first person that provides a unique angle to what is going on. So I do think it is really, really cool to see what they have done with this animation, but I'm not gonna blabber on too much about it. It's, you know, it's here just because of the first person recognition, but outside of it, there's not anything else too much unique to it. All right, the next animation I want to look at is the LR Fizz Gogeta Blue's active. Now, this is an animation that really does not get talked a lot to this day. I think when it came out, a lot of people were gassing it up, but you know, I do think there's some issues with it, of course. Like there are some awkward kicks and animations, but let's talk about the camera work on this one. Let's talk about the camera work on this one. I think they do it really, really, really well. It's a little different because it is for smoothness like always, but I think the thing that makes the Gogeta Blue's active so different is the way that it's used for the, I don't want to say calming effect. I don't even know exactly how to call this, but I don't know, it's just very smooth. There's the wind blowing, and it feels like the motion's almost part of that, the wind that is coming there. But the ending is what's so crazy and fluid about this animation, is right after he kicks Broly into the mountain, which again, those are the awkward frames I'm looking for, not as dynamic as you're hoping for. But this is really what sells the active skill to me, is when it just pans on over to Gogeta and it's giving him his victory screen per se that he has, and it looks really cool the way that they did it. To me, that, you know, I think that is some really, really good camera work that is done there. Again, I wish it was more. I wish the attack was more high speed. Sure, but I do think that the ending is still very effective. I still think it gets to the point you're kind of hoping for this attack, with the pan on over, kind of moving with the wind, and then it goes right into Gogeta, zooms in because he won, and so you're trying to see what he's gonna do. Is he gonna taunt them? What is he gonna do? And you know, he gets his vest and kind of opens it a little bit, you know. So I think it's a really cool animation overall, along with some great camera work. All right, next we have the LR Tech Super Vegito active skill. I'm not referring to the fusion animation, though there is some decent motion in there as well. I'm more so referring to the Dokkan original attack. Now, we're gonna see some crazy motion in here, way different than we've seen before. It's not necessarily motion that creates fluidity. It almost creates this dynamicism that is the whole point of the attack. The craziness of the Spirit Sword Slash. First, of course, you have, you know, Vegito slash the air, which is a decent motion, but that's not enough to classify enough for this video. It's when then he starts doing the beat up, when he starts flying to the sky, starts hitting Buhan like crazy, creating the Z action. The camera is moving with him at the same time he zigs and zags. So is the camera, and you can just feel all of it. Again, it creates that chaos that you want from this move. And again, then there's not really a lot of cuts in this either, which allows it to be crazy, because you would think it's a cut, right? Like jump cut. But no, instead it's all camera motion that allows it to zig and zag like that, like crazy. And it just gives it that, you know, again, that crazy feel you get from seeing Vegito go out there and start doing the shenanigans that he does to his opponents. So, you know, it definitely creates this extremist kind of attack, which is exactly what Vegito is. All right, next we have the counterpart to Super Vegito, the LR AGL Super Gogeta. Now, I wasn't really considering adding him to it at first, but the more I looked at it, there really is a lot of good motion going on here. It doesn't really occur until the end, though, because a lot of the early attacks, you know, kind of, after watching the Gogeta Blue attack, look very similar to that. And a lot of the stuff, even like the glitchy stuff that he does when he goes into the Soul Punisher, is even then more so a hit him effect than the camera. But there is some pretty good motion once he starts to go up into Janemba. You have him like flying up right to the Janemba, and then of course you have Gogeta getting the nice KO screen with the blur. But more so what I like about the motion is, you know, beginning, of course, there is some motion. You have the first start, it pans out, it goes right back into Gogeta zooming in. And then, of course, a lot of the similar stuff we saw with Gogeta Blue, a lot of the same motion. But then when he glitches right here is where I like it, where he goes up into his Punisher drive right into him, and then it zooms right into Gogeta and does it. It's still not as fluid as some of those other stuff we've seen, but I do like how it works with the attacks, as, you know, Gogeta's movements are very fluid himself, right? And he's going into the Punisher drive, into the Soul Punisher. And I think the camera does a good job of following that. I do think this camera's dynamicism in the skill of the movement per se, in comparison to some of the other ones, I wouldn't say are as effective, but I do think it works with Gogeta here. All right, let's talk about a real attack with some real camera work. The Fizz SSJ Trio's attack. Rewatching this thing over a year later still is just crazy how good this animation is. Everything is just motion. In fact, I don't even know if there's a single cut in this attack. I'm being so serious when I say it. I think everything in this attack is one take, as they call it. So, like, you start here with Gohan leaping, then he goes into Trunks. He's in the frame, they transition into Trunks. Now, okay, there's a cut right there. Here's the cut. It's very a seamless cut, but Goku is definitely a cut into. It's not a motion. They didn't motion into Dude, if they did that, by the way, that would have been insane. Right here, you're not watching my cut of what I'm watching here, but like, if they did the similar thing to Trunks, where they had Trunks come in, like this, he does a kick on Broly right here, and then it's gonna cut into Goku. If it showed Goku coming in and like zooming in front of them and then rushing Broly, that would look sick. It still looks really good, but it definitely has there is your cut there, and there's another cut right there while they're charging with their attacks. But again, not that the cut is a bad thing. It's just the fluidity of this attack is absolutely insane because there is a limited amount of cuts. And that just shows you how well the animation is. And plus, they've had some great like lining on them, on the characters as well. But yeah, I mean, this attack is the definition of crazy camera work, the fluidity, the movement of everybody, because the camera's constantly moving and flowing with them. That allows it to seem very natural, very fluid. And everything's not too quick. Everything is a nice process, and it just looks extremely fluid. I mean, this could be a simple attack that looks awful, just a bunch of kicks and punches and a key blast attack, but with the right camera work and the right animation, it creates this nice dynamic 18 key super, and the camera work goes a long way on this one. All right, we have the new animation goat on the screen right now, LR AGL Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. Now, the funny thing is I actually was considering not putting him on here, because I don't know if I could per se say that the camera did all of this. I think that it does a good job of getting the work done and following Gogeta on certain attacks and frames. But I do think a majority of what makes his attack look good is just the dynamicism of what they do with Gogeta. It doesn't mean that it couldn't improve with some more fluid motion, but I do think that like, if you look at this attack from start to finish, you know, is there actually camera work at play? And the answer is yes and no. I don't think that the camera is making it as dynamic as it could, but I do think it plays a good part, especially when he starts to go in like in the All Might form of the attack, you could say, like the effect behind him, the orange effects behind him, and then it does a little twirl around the camera goes around Gogeta right when he's unleashing the Dragon Fist, and he's basically already sent it. So there is parts of the attack that definitely get some good camera shots and good angles, but a lot of like Gogeta flipping and then turning into the Dragon Fist, that has nothing to do with the camera. That has everything to do with what they are doing with Gogeta himself. But I still think that overall the camera work here is very good. I would say it is actually not as strong as many people would be shocked to figure out, but I still think it is a good camera work animation. And for the final animation, we have the mini Super Saiyan Goku. This is kind of another animation that has the epitome of what camera work actually looks like in a super attack. This Kamehameha, once again, is just a normal Kamehameha that's getting supercharged. And if you want to look at that, just look at what they did with Mini 4Q. Very similar situation, right? They're both shooting out a super Kamehameha. I still think the Mini Goku's is better. And I think it's a good way just to get your marketing out there, you know, when you're doing Daima and you're just trying to make every episode more dynamic than the last. And how you do that, you make a regular Kamehameha look like this. But yeah, like this is a crazy scene because of what they do with the camera spinning all around Goku, following his, and he's charging, and the camera just spinning and spinning. And what's even crazier is, as well, so are the like key waves, right? The Kamehameha key waves are also kind of curving and spinning around with Goku, and the wind is and everything too. It is just creates this nice circular motion that's going on because of the charging and what is going on with Goku. And then of course he shoots the Kamehameha after, goes down to his opponent, and then he goes Super Saiyan 2 once he shoots it. Camera doesn't do much after that, of course, but I do think that it's really cool at the beginning of the attack that everything is swirling around him, even the camera, right? Because you could have that shot where the keys waving around him and the winds are going around him, but the fact that the camera is as well, it creates such a unique take on an idea for it. But you know, overall, I still think like Gomah and STR Cooler is the most in terms of how they use the motion, but there are some amazing units on this list that use the camera really well, and I hope we get more units in the future that also utilize motion over cuts. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below if you guys agree or disagree. I gotta include the trio on that list as well. The Super Saiyan Trio's attack is absolutely incredibly well done. But let me know if you guys, if I missed anyone as well. It is very possible because it is hard to sort of sift through every single Dokkan unit in this game and be like, oh yeah, I know this one, this is the, you know, or whatever. Like I'm gonna forget 1 or 2 or 5 that have a motion inside their attack that definitely was worthy of being on this list. But once again, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and if you know, if there's enough, we'll definitely make a part 2. But anyways, thank you guys for stopping by, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.